Hey everyone, Cooper here, host of the fine podcast you're listening to. I just want to let you know that the episode you clicked on has a format that is very heavily inspired by a podcast called The Bookening. To be clear, our thoughts and opinions in this episode are our own, but the format is very similar to this podcast. I just wanted to give you a heads up and give credit where it is due. With that out of the way, enjoy the show. Coming up next, Booking It reads The Tale of Despereaux. Hey everyone, welcome back to Booking It. I'm of course your humble and eloquent host, Mr. Cooper Cobbs. Joining me today is my very good friend, Mr. Isaiah Redsky. Isaiah, how you doing, sir?
Hello. I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh, just got back from a road trip on fall break. Doing good.
Yeah, fall break. Woo.
Yeah, just got back from doing a lot of schoolwork over fall break. So.
I mean, kinda.
Yeah.
Not too much, but like.
Not too much? Good.
Yeah, I still had to do some school, but it wasn't like a normal school day.
What was
it was like
the
a half day.
Hourly ratio of video games to schoolwork done? Like 1.5 hours video games to 1 hour of school? I don't know.
Nah, because I took breaks of video games because I'm not just going to sit and play the whole time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'd say like 1 hour of school to 1 hour of video games or so.
Okay, that's a good ratio right there.
Maybe just balance, a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, okay, listen. If I want to go hunting, I'm going to be gone for a full month. Almost a month, basically. I mean, it's November 5th till after Thanksgiving. There's Thanksgiving break, but still. So I got to get all my schoolwork done before I go, most of it at least, because I'm not going to have that much time to work there.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of work.
Oh, man. The work that it takes to fire a shotgun.
Haha.
Yeah. That's true. It's true.
I mean, kind of, but it's also going to be like camping and it's bow hunting, to be exact.
Mm-hmm.
But
hey, that's right. I shot my deer with a shotgun, but Isaiah's going to get his with a bow, so...
Shotgun?
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll find someone to... I shot a deer last year with a shotgun, yeah. Maybe we'll find someone to, like, Photoshop Isaiah into, like, Katniss Everdeen's body or something like that.
Bruh,
if he shoots a deer. That'll be fun. Post that on Patreon. That'd be great. Anyway, speaking of weird Photoshop, imagine Photoshopping giant ears onto a mouse. That's what we're talking about today.
Not just
Mr.
onto a mouse,
Despereaux.
onto a very tiny mouse.
Very tiny mouse. That's correct. Very tiny mouse, as we're constantly reminded throughout the book. So,
yes.
The Tale of Despereaux. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to pull it up because I like the subtitle. Do you want, like talking about Tale of Despereaux, a tale of a spool of thread, or hang on. Tale of Despereaux, subtitle. You know what? I'm just going to look up images of Tale of Despereaux, and the cover should pull up, right?
Probably.
No, why is the movie coming up? The movie's terrible.
Wait, oh, yeah, there's a movie. I forgot.
That's right.
I haven't seen it, but you told me there was a movie.
Okay, here it is. I found it. The Tale of Despereaux, being the story of a mouse, a princess, some soup, and a spool of thread. And that about sums the book up right there for you, folks. We don't need to do the book in 30 seconds.
Nah. There you go.
That's the book. It's about a mouse and a princess, soup, and a spool of thread. All right, Isaiah, let's talk about this. So first, of course, you're going to give your baggage. And the baggage is the segment where we tell about the history that we have with the book, what baggage we brought to this discussion. So, Isaiah, what baggage did you bring to this discussion of A Tale of Despereaux?
Well, I guess I've heard of it like once or twice. I heard about the movie, I guess, the name, but I didn't really know what it was, like a year ago. And then I forgot about it until I was told that we were going to do it on the podcast. And I was told like a month ago. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's my baggage. And then I read it like 2 days ago.
Awesome. And what were your impressions of the book? Like you said, you heard about it. Was it mentioned in a good way, a bad way? Like do you remember it all?
I heard that
like,
it was a good story.
Yeah,
like
your expectations.
Good fairy tale and something like that about this little mouse. That's all I got. Yep. And then something similar to like Green Ember, something like that, where they like communicate, like they talk and can think for themselves.
Right.
That's all I heard. So
yep.
Yeah, I thought it was a good book.
Yeah, it is. All right.
Your baggage.
So, there are few books that I can clearly point to in my life and say, at one point, this book was my favorite book. And The Tale of Despereaux happens to be one of those books. I was, probably 9 or 10, maybe 8 when I first read it. And for the longest time, it was my favorite book. I remember just really loving actually, I was probably even younger than that. I might have been 7 or something. Loving the adventure, the fantasy element, the knights in shining armor, the Despereaux, but also just, the heroism, the contrast of light versus dark. Like, it's really a classic fairy tale adventure story. And it really spoke to me when I was a kid. Probably just for simpler reasons, not for the reasons that I love it now. Just for the reasons of, hey, it's a mouse, and he needs to, I think my favorite scene was the scene in, I think it's part 4, where Despereaux is taken up back to the kitchen, and he's sitting in the pantry covered in flour, like a ghost, basically. And then he's, like, dreaming, and he sees the knight, and he needs to become the knight or something like that. It's like, man, yeah. Little 7-year-old
Knight in
Cooper's
shining
like,
armor.
I need to become the knight. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And save my own princess. Yeah. And so that's kind of what happened to me.
Doing that, saying that.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, I didn't read it for a span of time, probably when I was like 10 to 13 or 14. And I think, gosh, I was in some bookstore and they had a used copy of it. I was like, hey, you know what? I'll buy this. I don't think we owned it, so I'll buy it. And I bought it, and I was like, man, this is really good. And not just because it's a cheap fairy tale adventure story that I liked, the reason I liked it, but also because just the depth that it has, honestly, the beauty of some of the scenes, the elegance in which you can imagine someone writing this book and it just falls flat because it's too heavy-handed. Just, it's so ham-fisted in the way that it delivers the light versus dark and the knight in shining armor. There's so much stuff that could go wrong if someone else wrote it, but Kate DiCamillo wrote it well enough to where I was like, man, this really works. It's great writing. It's got powerful scenes. And so the reason I love it today as well, when I read it just a couple weeks ago, was, man, this is great writing. It's a great fairy tale. It's got a lot of meaning behind it. And I would gladly give this to any young kid as an introduction to fairy tales, fantasy, anything like that. And yeah, I love it. So, well, you've heard, I guess, my opening thoughts already, Isaiah, but what about you? What are your opening thoughts and big picture, what's your big picture take on Tale of Despereaux?
Well, I mean, I already kind of said a little bit, but I thought it was a good book. It was a good story. It wasn't really exactly what I was expecting whenever I
In what way?
heard of the book. I mean, because I just heard that it was, well, initially when I first heard of it, and then you guys kind of explained it like a couple months later or whatever. But when I first, like a year ago, heard of it, I heard it's something basically like the Green Ember series. So I thought it's going to be something like that where there are no humans. And it's just like the mice.
And it's in this fantasy world where there's darkness out there, yeah.
Yeah. And then you told me like a month ago, I think. Yeah, something like that. That is not like Green Ember, like where there's still humans, but the mice have like, they can communicate and they think and talk and all that.
Right.
So, yeah. I thought it was a good book. I think this was the first book I read where it's like that. I haven't actually heard of any other books that are like that.
Yeah, we're actually talking about some... it's actually really fun. We're talking about Green Ember. We're talking about Tale of Despereaux, and then we'll talk about later Watership Down, which all three have varying degrees of anthropomorphism. Yeah. Right? We talked about it, I think, on Green Ember before, about just how the different forms of how animals are portrayed in literature or movies, and how much human attributes they have. And so Green Ember, they're basically humans in rabbit form. Here they're human in everything but the way they act, essentially. They act like mice, but they can talk and think. And then Watership Down, they're basically rabbits who can talk and think, and that's it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to talk about is with Watership Down. But yeah, anyway, sorry, continue.
So yeah, I thought it was a good book, good storyline, kept me entertained throughout the whole thing. And yeah, that's my thoughts. Yeah.
I will say something that stuck out to me this time as well is just how evocative a lot of the scenes are. And there are several scenes in particular that are just really pop. And the first one is I think it's the birth scene where they're just all crowding around this little mouse who's the only one to have survived of the litter, and he's small and his eyes are open.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
like,
it's
man,
the first.
It's first, and it's new, and it's like, okay, that it's a chapter that makes a promise, and the book lives up to that. Another scene is just the scene where he gets sent off, where they're all condemning him, even his own father, and his father is crying.
Father was the one that started, like, called the council.
Beat the drum. Like, that's really scary. And I'll get to another scene later. It's one of my favorite scenes in the book. And there's that scene. Then the red thread, Hovis, the guy who ties the red thread, is one of my favorite characters, I think. He's great. And then also, just the dungeon as a scene really made my perspective of what dungeons look like. It shaped it. Like, in Tale of Despereaux, it's a fairy tale. It's really a fairy tale over a fantasy novel. Until it's more whimsical. The dungeon is like this dark maze that for some reason is built that way to where people die, like soldiers die in the maze of the dungeon.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah, but like when I was a kid, every single time I saw or encountered a dungeon, I was like, this isn't right. This is not a maze. Like, this needs to be a dark, foreboding maze. Why they're not jails? It's not just jail cells. It's, I don't know. So that was really evocative. And then just the portrayal of the taste of soup, the rats, and then the scene of Despereaux as a ghost forgiving his father is really powerful as well. And then anything with the king as well. I love this stuff with the king. So just evocative stuff. Before we move on, though, I think when you talk about it has an interesting, like, narrative style. As in, Kate DiCamillo is telling you the story, but she's also in conversation with you. So I was interested. Like, was it off-putting to you at all? Did it enhance the story? How did you feel about the author being in dialogue with you while you're reading?
Oh no, I mean, I didn't really think too much of it. I thought it just helped move the story along and kind of give you an idea of what was happening and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I didn't really think too much of it. I actually didn't really notice it too much in the beginning.
Yeah.
Or for a while until like near the end. I'm like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that in another person's hands it would have completely flopped, but I love it here. Just the first time that really comes into focus is when she's talking about definition of the word perfidy or something like that. She's like, reader, do you know what the word perfidy means? It's like, consult the dictionary, but I think you can know what it means by just what happened here. And I think you're right. I think you really put the finger on it. Like, it advances the story in a meaningful way. It's not just some stylistic ornament. It really helps move the story along and enhances the way that the story is told. And in the movie, the narrator is I haven't seen it in forever. I don't remember ever liking the movie. But the narrator is like really not great. Like, the narration it doesn't move the story forward at all. So I think that in this case it does move it forward. I like it, and I wouldn't have this book written any other way. And I think that just being a fairy tale, it needed to have something like this, something like that narrator. So I do think this is definitely one of. By the way, this is Kate DiCamillo. If anybody, have you read any other books, Isaiah? Probably should have asked this in baggage. Like, because
I don't
of
think
Winn-Dixie, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane.
No, I know I've heard of those, but I haven't read them.
Yeah, I think she's tied for the most Newbery medals won. She has 2 medals won and then a Newbery honor.
Huh.
So she's very decorated, yes. But I think this is definitely one of her better books.
Cute.
All right. Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on it as like a fairy tale? I don't know. I mean, like a modern fairy tale written by. Do you have any thoughts about that, Isaiah?
No.
Does it do what a fairy tale should do?
And what should a fairy tale do?
That's the open-ended question, Isaiah. I don't know. I'll start if you want. I think that a fairy tale is a fun, enchanting story for kids that also has some deeper meaning or parable, I guess. And Tale of Despereaux does that very well. And the fact that it's charming, it's whimsical, kids of all ages love it and can read it. And it also gives us a story of good triumphing over evil, light conquering dark, and at the end of the day, friendship and love being the ones that carry the day. So, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes all those fairy tale aspects and just gives us a really nice novel-length format for them.
Yep.
I'd honestly say this story is better than most fairy tales that I've read, at least.
I would have to agree,
worthwhile.
yeah. It was, in my opinion, better and kept me just, like, entertained for longer and more.
Yeah, and I'd argue the payoffs are more powerful. Like, there's no fairy tale that has really done what that scene where Despereaux forgives his father has done.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that's really done that for me, so.
That is a good point.
All right, I think the next thing I really want to talk about is just... So obviously, if anybody reads that Tale of Despereaux, it's not too hard to discern the theme, light over dark. Literally, one of the characters is named Chiaroscuro, which me and Isaiah studied art last year in CC, or Classical Conversations, and Chiaroscuro literally means contrasting light and dark in a painting, like in art.
Wait, we studied this?
It was briefly mentioned, yes, in like a slide note on one of the paintings.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, it's literally just the rat is mixed with this light and dark fighting or contrasting in himself, and the idea of the rat being drawn to the light even though he needs to be in the darkness. So I'm just interested to see, did it ever feel like on the nose or really simplistic, or anything to strike you as off or anything like that about the theme of light over dark, or just the nature of what the author was trying to get at?
No, I don't think anything was like off with it or anything like that. I mean, it was, in my opinion, kind of like obvious to tell what the theme was of the book or the message, but it wasn't like over the top or off or anything like that. Like nothing was wrong with it that at least I can think of right now. So yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like I said, there's so many things, and honestly, the movie did these. The movie failed because I think it was just not as good at this. She handles these themes so deftly and so well that, end of the day, you can complain about it being really simplistic or on the nose, but it's not delivered in a way that evokes that response. So I think it's incredible that she managed to pull it off, but she did, and it's fantastic. At least, I mean, not at least, it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
So even though, I mean, I like, some people might find it cheesy, but I love the fact the rat name is Chiaroscuro, that he's a rat. I love the idea of Kate DiCamillo indulging herself and saying that stories are light. I love all the symbolism, and soup representing whatever it represents, and things like that.
Everything in
I'm
it,
here for
like,
it.
Yeah, every like more like major-ish part or more part that like the rat Despereaux focused on had a different meaning.
Yeah.
Or whatever. That's what I thought. I thought that was cool in it.
Yeah. I mean, from the red thread that he tied around his neck to...
Not that I can tell you all the meanings now, but I know they have another meaning.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know that she's thought through it. You know the meaning's there. And even if you can't reach it, you kind of know what it means based off of what it is. So, yeah. I guess we'll talk about some characters. What do you think about good old Despereaux, the character, the mouse? What's your impression of him? What do you think?
Honestly, I kind of felt bad for him in the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, his whole family, he was born, and his mom's like, he's disappointment. His dad's like, he's disappointment. He's such a small rat. It's like, bro, what? Yeah. His family, like, throughout the book, just kept calling him... Or, mouse.
You sound like the king. A mouse is but one step removed from a rat.
I knew that. I just said the wrong thing. Sorry. But, like, his whole family throughout the beginning of the book and basically the book just kept calling him a disappointment, and how he's such a small little mouse, and how he, like, they don't even know how he's alive or anything like that. So I kind of felt bad for him. But then he, like, you know, became the hero and...
Powers up.
Yep. And fought some dudes with a sewing needle.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think that we easily sympathize with him because he's just tormented. He's easy to sympathize with. And then the guy just wants to read his stories alone. You know what I mean? Just wants to go
Yeah.
to the library instead of eating. He wants to read happily ever after. Go ahead.
Speaking of like reading, this dude is just like a mouse, and then all of a sudden randomly can look at a book and know how to read it. Like what?
Hey, it's fairy tale, bro. All right.
Still,
Get off my back about this. All right. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I know.
sure,
I get what
still.
you're saying. Hey, I'm willing to forgive it.
No, I'll forgive it. It's still a good book. I was just
Yeah.
like, when I first read it, I was like, wait, hold up.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, there are so many themes that are being handled here. One of them is just that stories bring light, and I think that's true. And I think that Despereaux learns that, and really just that's kind of what drives. I mean, he's for some reason everybody disowns him because he likes stories. So and then obviously because he
has
has
some
forbidden
great
love.
hearing or whatever.
Yes.
Because
I think that's also a really powerful. That always stuck with me. It sounded like honey.
Yes, I was about to say it. That was like a cool description of it.
Yeah.
Of music.
Yeah. Every
The
now
sound
and then.
of honey, like what?
Yeah. Exactly, Joel. It at first it adds like mysteriousness, and then it's like, oh, music. Yes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, that's a great metaphor. Like, yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
It does sound like honey.
Yeah.
It does. So I think that Despereaux's relationship with Princess P is funny, honestly. In the movie, it doesn't work either, but in the book, it's just this little mouse. I don't know, for some reason, falls in love with the princess and is like, "I honor you, I honor you." And then at the very end, she's like, yeah, sorry, he can't marry her, guys. What'd you think? I mean, come on."
Yeah.
Like, ooh, yeah, fair, fair, I guess, fair.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I mean this book is really there, and we'll talk about the other characters in a sec. But this book is about Despereaux becoming this timid mouse and reading stories to actually becoming one of those heroes. And following that journey, and it's great. So, all right, so Chiaroscuro next, part 2, Mr. Chiaroscuro. What do you think about it? What do you think about Mr. Chiaroscuro? We already talked about him. We like the idea of his name a lot, but we think about his character arc, his conflict, things like that.
Wait, was he that guy in the dungeon?
Yeah, he's the main rat character.
Yeah,
he's the guy who kidnaps the princess.
Yes. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I thought that he was written as a good villain, I guess, but also like, I don't know. I guess I thought it was kind of cool that it explained how he got into the position he was in, and all that, and like what happened before to get him to that position. Yeah, and that it also did it from like his perspective a little bit.
Yeah, he goes behind the scenes and gets his motives.
Yeah, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, even though it seems to some like on face value, it's like, oh, light versus dark. Okay, it's so bland, so obvious. But with Chiaroscuro in his name, she's like, it ain't that simple. Yeah, like it ain't. Like this guy is drawn at the light. He gets burned by it because he kills the queen. By the way, some of the funniest stuff in this book is just when he goes to the party, the banquet, right? There's this one line that I always love. It says, "Reader, the rat invited himself to the party." I don't know why, but that always just. And then there's the just the queen, what she says when she dies, like or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, he fell into the soup, right?
Falls into the soup, yes. And he's like, "Oh, madame." And then there's just the funny illustration, remember, where he's got this spoon on his head, and is it the tablecloth around his neck, and he's just like walking away slouching. It's funny. It's funny.
I think so. Yeah. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something like that. Yeah,
but I mean, that stuff with Mick's dad, where he tries to cause pain and then just like it doesn't satisfy him.
Yeah,
it's powerful stuff, and
and
but I love at the end though, he's the bad guy. He causes the pain, tries to steal the light, and then at the end, it's like, hey, I mean, this guy is always going to be conflicted. Like it's in his name, Chiaroscuro. He has free access, but something's just not right in him. So I think it's a bittersweet ending for him, but also the one that makes sense at the end of the day.
Yeah.
All right,
I would agree.
Migri Sao.
Wait, what?
Migri Sao, the character. Mig.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think obviously she's one of the most tragic and funny characters in the book. And
definitely tragic.
Yes. Even though she's dumb and directly causes the entire basically plot of the book to happen.
Yep.
So
that is true. Yeah. Her story is
descriptions of hers.
tragic though, right? That was the one her sold or whatever.
Yeah, her parents died, got sold, or no, when mom died, her dad sold her.
Yes, yeah.
Gets cauliflower-like ears, which is another great description. So, yeah, I mean, you obviously feel sympathy for Meg. I think you kind of resent her after what she does, but then at the end you kind of sympathize with her. And Voskuro's decision to give her back to her dad is awesome at the end as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I definitely would have to agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of her wanting to be a princess and it just driving the plot. Like, I think it also is. It may be even I thought of this now, a subtle rebuke of every little girl who wants to be a princess but can't. And so she's like, "Hey, you can't be a princess, but you can be loved by your parents, and they treat you like a princess for the rest of your life." You know what I mean? So
yeah.
In the movie, there's this dumb thing about like a tattoo or something like that. So
what?
Her dad like sees a tattoo on her neck and is like, "Oh yeah." So, yeah. It's dumb. I like the idea of Voskuro bringing them together. So, anything else? Okay. So for me, at first, when I was reading the final act, the final part, where everything comes to a head, I was like, this seems a little thin. The idea of Voskuro just like keeping the princess down in the dungeon forever. It's like, bruh, like she's gonna die soon.
Yeah, seriously.
Like Mig's gonna realize at some point she's not gonna become a princess. Like, what was your plan here, bro? And so at first, like, oh no, I don't want this book to fall apart here. And I think it is kind of thin. I think it works fine. Like the idea of the darkness wanting some light, but I don't know. Like somehow there's so many things in this book that just should not work, and yet they do. And I think this is one of them as well. So
yeah.
Now, have you anything to say about the final part?
Not really. I mean, it was a good ending to the book and concluded it well. And yeah, I guess it just even like to the end of the book, whenever it slowed down, the action was done and all that, it still kept my attention and like kept me entertained and wanting to read more of it. Which I read it pretty fast. I think I read the whole thing. Like I just sat and read it all.
Yeah. So it's a fairy tale. Like it's meant to be like that. The chapters are really short, and so it's meant to be read at once. Yeah. I like I said, I love all the side characters, and especially the scene with his dad. Just and they all have their little mannerisms that are like, you know, Furlough, his brother, says "cripes." And that's it's a scary scene when his brother leads him away to die, basically. And then you have Hovis, the Threadmaster. I love this idea of there being a Threadmaster, and then Princess P losing all her spools of red thread, and there just being this silly council of mice. I think it's just hilarious. And then obviously the scene with the dad where he gets forgiven. I mean, it's powerful. Like I'm sure when I read this book to my kids, I'll cry. I mean, maybe, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, then at the very end, it's this funny scene of they're having a banquet. Soup's come back. It's awesome. Soup's there. And then you see the four mice. His dad keeps just saying, "Forgiven, forgiven." His mom is like, "Oh, mon Dieu." Which is like, "Oh my gosh," except it's not gosh. And, Furlough is saying, "Cripes." And then the Threadmaster is like, "Just so." And you get the sense the Threadmaster's got some chivalry of his own. So I love the way the book ends, those side characters looking on. And anyway, I love this book a lot.
It's a good book,
you should read it. So
definitely would recommend it.
Donor shoutouts. Oh wait, I said how many spools of thread out of 10 would you give a Tale of Despereaux?
I'll give this like a 8.5.
8.5. I'm gonna give it 9.5.
Yeah.
I think it's almost perfect.
Whoa, dang. Okay.
Yeah, baby. This is
It's not Harry Potter level, but it's pretty good.
Wow. Like Harry Potter? Okay. All right, let's do donor shoutouts. I'm gonna say the donor. Oh wait, first, where'd you go to get a donor shoutout?
You go to patreon.com /booking it and donate to any of our tiers that are $5 and up. Dang it, I actually messed that one up.
Yeah, I just got memorized normally. It's okay. Add some variation. People like that. Okay, I'm gonna say the patron, the donor. You say what fairy tale character you think they are. All right.
All right, and does it have to be from this book?
No, any fairy tale.
All right.
Oh, you probably could do this book if you wanted to.
Well, no, I will.
We'll see. Okay. All right, Nana.
Nana? What about Cinderella?
Yeah. And Happy and Wayla.
Pimp, Happy, and Wayla. I gotta think. Let's go with Peter Pan and Tinkerbell.
Nice. I think they would love that a lot, actually. Mike and Sylvia, your grandparents.
Let's see.
Guys, this is funny. Isaiah asked me before we started. He's like, what are you going to do for donor shoutouts? I want to be
man.
prepared. And then Isaiah's like, leading 20 seconds of silence happened.
Shut up.
Just two characters from the book.
Characters from the book. All right. Despereaux and, what was that girl's name again? I already forgot her name.
Oh, Migri South.
Yeah, her.
Your parents, Mike and Laura.
Let's go with Princess P and the king. The king.
Yep. Okay, Angie and Uncle Sam.
Belle and Beast.
All right, Moses and Zara. You're Moses, then Zara.
All right, Moses. I mean, are we counting Shrek as a fairy tale?
I mean, it's not a very good one, but yeah.
All right,
so.
Shrek. Moses, you get Shrek.
All right, Zara.
Zara, let's go with Snow White.
Snow White, yep. Anna.
What about the Cheshire Cat?
Okay, yeah.
I'm trying to think of some random ones here.
Emily.
Ariel.
Becky.
Let's go with Bambi.
Okay. Lizzie.
Anastasia. Or however you say the name.
And Keenan.
Ooh.
What about Rumpelstiltskin?
Ooh, that's a good one. Rumpelstiltskin. However you say the name, I can't say it.
Rumpelstiltskin, yeah.
Yeah, what he said.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to go to support us at the link that Isaiah said. It's in the description. We'd really appreciate that. And always make sure to leave a 5-star rating review if you haven't. It really helps us get the word out. Speaking of getting the word out, tell your friends. They should read Tale of Despereaux. They should listen to this podcast about it. It's great. And we'll see you next time with some more Green Ember, I think. Until then.
Keep on booking it.